July 1st, 2025, and we will initiate this meeting today with our chaplain prayer and pledges by Chaplain Tommy Tallis. Please rise.
The first day of July marks a very special week for this nation. We get to celebrate the establishment of our freedoms and our rights to do things such as meetings like this. So we want to give thanks to God for that, and I ask you to bow with me as we pray. Our Heavenly Father, we begin this meeting by acknowledging that everything comes from you. You are the provider of our abilities and our opportunities. We can't do anything without your help. And so as we meet this morning, we meet for various reasons. One, to thank you for the blessings of this nation, for the lives that were offered so that we might have freedoms. We pray for those who have served this city council so faithfully in the past years. We pray for those who are currently serving. We pray for clear minds, efficient communication, and effective problem solving. We ask you to just be with us as we meet to try to do the best for this city and this community. Thank you for each person in this meeting and for the unique talents and perspectives that they bring. In your name we pray. Amen. Will you join me now for the pledges? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to move into proclamations and presentations, and I'd like to ask Lori Wilson and Mayor Gunter to please come forward.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It is my honor and privilege to be here before you this morning on behalf of your state representative, Drew Darby. We have worked together as a team, had some co-conspirators in gathering some information about you, Brenda. The contribution that you have made to this city is just remarkable, and it will always be remembered in the state of Texas. We have got you in the record, in the rolls, and this House resolution just commemorates a small portion of what you have done for us. So if you'll allow me, I'm going to read this so everyone can hear what Representative Darby submitted for you. Thank you. Whereas Brenda Gunter is completing her second term as mayor of San Angelo in May 2025, drawing to a close a tenure in office distinguished by significant progress. And whereas in 2017, Mayor Gunter became the first woman elected to lead the city. She has focused on economic development and the revitalization of the historic downtown as a popular site for recreation and business, retail, and residential investment. And whereas during Mayor Gunter's tenure, has represented the city of San Angelo on the Ports to Plains Alliance Board and chairs the San Angelo Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Board. At the state level, she serves as chair of the Texas Department of Transportation I-27 Advisory Committee and as a member of the TxDOT Texas Freight Advisory Committee. And whereas during Mayor Gunter's tenure, the city has undertaken numerous infrastructure initiatives, among them the Hickory Aquifer expansion, Lake Nasworthy sewer improvement, and Concho River water projects. Transportation has been enhanced not only through major street work, but also through expansion of runways and other advancements at the San Angelo Regional Airport. In addition, a number of parks have undergone renovation. And whereas a prominent business owner and experienced corporate executive, Mayor Gunter has a long record of civic engagement. She has given generously of her time and expertise to such organizations as Angelo State University's Norris Vincent College of Business Advisory Council, the San Angelo Area Foundation, and the United Way. In addition, she has served as president of Downtown San Angelo, Inc., and as chair of the organization's Design and Promotions Committee. She authored a walking tour brochure and guided the Sheep Spectacular celebration of a major local industry. Her many accolades include recognition as a Pillar of San Angelo in 2019 and as Citizen of the Year for 2009 by the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce. And whereas, through her leadership and expertise, Mayor Gunter has contributed immeasurably to the quality of life in her community, and her accomplishments have earned the respect and appreciation of countless fellow citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the House of Representatives of the 89th Legislature hereby honor Brenda Gunter for her service as Mayor of San Angelo and extend to her sincere best wishes for the future. And be it further resolved that an official copy of this resolution be prepared for Mayor Gunter as an expression of high regard by the Texas House of Representatives. And then it's signed by our Speaker of the House for this 89th session, Dustin Burrows. It's signed by Stephen Brown, the Chief Clerk of the House, and signed by our Representative, Drew Darby. So, Mayor Brenda Gunter, I am honored to present this to you.
What I can say is that there's been no greater honor than having the position of mayor for the city of San Angelo for 8 years. The citizens of this city deserve so much. They give so much. They're part of why we have economic development. It's a part of our success as a community. And I can't think of a greater thing than serving as mayor and trying to help push forward all the quality of life issues that make a difference in the state of Texas, in this city, and for our citizens. I love this city. I wasn't born and raised here, but it's my home. It will be my home for the rest of my life. And I will continue to pursue endeavors and things that I can do to move this city forward in any capacity that I might be able to serve in. So I want to thank everyone for your support, for what you've done to help me in this role, and for giving back to me suggestions, ideas, support, and appreciation. So thank you.
Don't run off. I'm going to call a little bit of an audible here. Great things come in twos. And this morning we're here to honor Colonel McGinnis at Goodfellow. They had a ceremony for her where we gave her some key to the city a couple of weeks ago. We're going to do something a little less top secret and a little more public this morning. So if you will go ahead and come up, Colonel McGinnis. But what I want to do is I want to allow Brenda to say a few words about you. Y'all two have served together for the duration. I just came on and I only thought it would be more and most appropriate if she gave a few words about your service, and then I will conclude it by reading the certificate of honor.
I think it's great that there's these two women standing up here. That's what I think. It has been an honor to serve at the same time as Colonel McGinnis. I think we both, during our tenure, have gone through the toughest times that anyone would be asked and be challenged in terms of their service. I know that in my 4 years, my first 4 years, there was a hailstorm, a tornado, there was COVID, there was contamination of the water, there was the worst winter storm, and yet all of those things seem small compared to the challenges and the things that you, in your leadership in Goodfellow Air Force Base, are going through, have gone through, and will continue to go through. Our country depends on people like you to guide us and lead us and stand up and fight for this country. So thank you for what you've done, what you've contributed, what you will continue to contribute to our country. It's a pleasure and an honor to know that women like you take on the big challenge and the role that you've taken on and do it with great pride and a dedication to the men and women of this country. So thank you.
Gillis, if you will step over here closer to me, we'll let Brenda sit on the other side. We have here a certificate of honor. The City of San Angelo proudly recognizes and honors Colonel Angelina M. McGinnis for her exceptional leadership, unwavering commitment to public service, and invaluable partnership with our community during her tenure as commander of the 17th Training Wing at Goodfellow Air Force Base. Since assuming command in June of 2023, Colonel McGinnis has strengthened the enduring bond between Goodfellow Air Force Base and the City of San Angelo through a visionary approach rooted in unity and collaboration. Her One Community strategic initiative has reinforced a spirit of shared purpose, ensuring that military and civilian efforts move forward together to achieve collective success. Colonel McGinnis has championed community engagement through the expansion of the Honorary Commander Program, a longstanding tradition that continues to build trust, transparency, and cooperation between base personnel and local leaders. She has also demonstrated a passion for leadership development, hosting participants from Leadership San Angelo and mentoring young leaders at the Junior Leadership Development Conference held at Angelo State University. Her outreach efforts with local organizations such as Purdue Global and the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce underscore her dedication to forging meaningful partnerships that support both mission readiness and community advancement. Through every initiative, Colonel McGinnis has exemplified a deep respect for the citizens of San Angelo and a profound commitment to excellence in service. With sincere gratitude, we commend Colonel Angelina M. McGinnis for her outstanding contributions to the City of San Angelo. Her legacy of leadership, collaboration, and vision will leave a lasting impact on our community and for generations to come. Now, therefore, I, Tom Thompson, Mayor of the City of San Angelo, Texas, on behalf of the City Council, do recognize and applaud Colonel Angelina M. McGinnis. Thank you so much. Would you like to say some words?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I am so humbled by this recognition. I certainly don't deserve it. There are 14,000 service members and civilians and contractors that work on Goodfellow Air Force Base and within the 17th Training Wing that really deserve this honor. They're the ones that do the hard work every day. They're the ones that maintain that community partnership because they live in your community. I am so proud of everything that the Raider team has done in the 17th Training Wing. I am so proud of this community and proud of the partnership that we have. There is no better military community than San Angelo, Texas. And I applaud you for continuing to open your arms to the service members and their families as they come in here, as well as all of our civilian personnel that work at the base. Again, I am humbled, but again, I'm just one person on the team that helps to make this community partnership what it is. And really, you all need to get a big round of applause for the community that you are and that you represent. Thank you so much.
We're going to, at this point in time, we'll re-bring that applause up here in a minute, but I'll just fix and say, we'll just call you two ladies lucky for what y'all had to go through the past 8 years. We won't have that we hope not, but what we do have here is the keys to the city, all right? This is only the third key to be presented. This was an initiative brought forth by Mayor Gunter, and you don't get these things lightly, okay? These things come with service dedication. You earn this, and I can't think of two more qualified people that have got this, but right now, we're going to actually award the key to the city with the appropriate box to Colonel McGinnis. We're going to take a brief pause and shoot some photos before we start back with the regular agenda. Either did we have anybody sign up for public comment?
We have one staff announcement from Communications Director Brian Groves.
Hello. Wanted to take an opportunity to brag on our people. When we do things, we don't obviously do them for recognition, but sometimes it happens when we enter competitions. Last year, we did a burglary video. I'm sorry, I didn't introduce myself. Brian Groves, District 6. I don't do this very often. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to recognize our people. We did a burglary video with the police department, and we entered a national competition and won a Silver Telly Award. And I just wanted to take a second to say thank you to our team and mention them by name. So on the police department side, we have John Bellini, Kelsey Hernandez, Chris Tolowski, Sheldon Harrell, and Police Chief Travis Griffith. And then in our office, it was Lorelei Day. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of them and wanted to highlight that the city won another award. So.
Brian, y'all do a wonderful job, and you bring those forth every year. You earn everything the hard way by putting out really good content. One of the highlights that we've been able to do is to tell people, if you want transparency, if you want to research it, y'all's department, I can't think of anything you don't have up there that they can't go and find. I just want to say one more time, thank y'all for what you do. You bet. With that, we'll end public comment. We'll move into the consent agenda, and I will start here on my left. Hebert, do you have anything to pull?
Nothing to pull, Mayor.
All right. I have nothing to pull. Patrick, have you got anything you want to pull?
No, sir.
Karen? No, I do not. Mary? No, sir. All right. With no items to pull, I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved. I have a first and a second on the consent agenda. Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda?
None.
With that, I'll ask for everyone in favor to approve the consent agenda. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, consent agenda passes 5-0. Now we'll move into the regular agenda. Comments regarding items on the regular agenda may be made by the public when each item is discussed as outlined above. To participate, please sign in with the city clerk prior to beginning of the meeting. Speakers will be called in the order they signed in. Comments are limited to less than 3 minutes. Applicants, proponents, and appellants are exempt from the time limit above and instead must limit their remarks to less than 5 minutes. With that, we'll move into regular agenda item A. Consider approving a professional service contract with Public Sector Personnel Consultants Incorporated per Texas LGC Section 252.022A4 in the amount not to exceed $150,000, sourced from operating fund balances and authorized by the city manager to negotiate and execute all related documents. Presentation made by Human Resource Director Veronica Sanchez.
Good morning, Council, City Manager. Thank you. Veronica Sanchez, HR Director, just for the record. So what I bring before you today is consideration for approval of a professional services contract with Public Sector Personnel Consultants for a market study. Classification compensation study. So this information was in your background. These are the accomplishments that a classification and compensation study would provide. We discussed this at length during the strategic planning meetings, and we haven't had one since 2007, I believe. So the organization, the structure, obviously market in terms of salary has changed drastically. This process would take about 5 months in order for us to complete, along with the consultant. It includes a review of job descriptions, review of our pay plan for both general employees as well as police and fire. As discussed during the strategic planning meetings, we need a starting point. So this is what this would provide for us, and then we could plan accordingly from there based on the results of this study. And with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Veronica, for those people that weren't at strategic planning, will you maybe expand upon the need of what you're doing and what purpose it serves?
Oh, absolutely. So usually what the city does, typically around the budget season, we take a look at increases. So what will it take for us to both retain and recruit employees? We have struggled with that in probably the last 10 years, I would say. The market has changed dramatically, both based on what employees are looking for, top-level positions, key positions. The market has changed dramatically as well, and so we've struggled with recruiting that. This would at least give us the data that we need to better understand what the market is doing and, like I said, plan accordingly so that we can be competitive.
What departments will this cover?
Every department within the
Fire
city.
department, police department, staff, municipal court, all the way across the board?
That's correct.
Okay. Open it up for any questions? Tommy?
I've got a couple. You mentioned using this in terms of budget items, which are upcoming soon. A couple of questions related to that. If it's going to take 5 months, obviously, we won't have it by the time we get to that portion of the budget in August. So do you have, I would say, a plan to be able to address what you would likely recommend through the city manager with respect to pay? And then I guess a follow-up to that would be, depending on what the study shows and maybe what we need to begin to address, do you have a plan for that?
Yes and no. We will have a plan based on, what we walk through with council and finance for this budget season. We really won't be able to understand where we need to go with this until we have the results of the study.
Right.
Once, though, we get the ball rolling, though, I think it's a quick conversation with that consultant to say, these are our desires, and they'll give us a realistic view of the timeline and what that looks like. We're hoping that through the budget process, we will have some data that'll give us an opportunity to maybe predict some things.
So it may allow us, we use the term placeholder sometimes when we're talking budget. So this would allow us to possibly put some placeholders in place once the study is complete. We may not be able to do, I'll say, fully implement, and that's not the right way to say it, fully utilize the study because it will not be complete, but then once it is complete, it would allow us to put some placeholders in there for not only this year, and it may be a January 1st effective, whatever. So that process. My concern is that I think it's no secret to anybody. One of my biggest concerns is our employees and their pay. So I am hoping that we can make some strides even before the study is complete, but then once it is complete, and it sounds like the answer to the question is yes, we can and likely will have some of those things in place, and then have the ability to put some placeholders in there.
That's correct. You're correct. And it is typical with market studies to have a phased approach, so a 3-year plan, which would allow us to implement certain things on certain years. So that would work well regardless. And it is also typical to do sometimes mid-year adjustments. So if that's something the council wants to entertain, then we can definitely come back with that information, walk through it.
You can count this council member as wanting to do that.
Sounds good, thank you. And I'm sorry, I feel like I can't see you over there. Apologize.
Any other questions? Karen?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you expand a little bit on what an exciting thing a classification system can be and why we need it?
It's probably more exciting for me than anybody else, maybe.
Yep.
It's a lot of data, and I'm a believer that numbers don't lie. And so let's take a look at where we are in terms of compensation. And by compensation, I don't just mean salary. Let's take a look at the entire benefit packet. I think there are some employees that value other things more than salary. So let's take a look at what we've got out there, what we can provide, what is we're financially able to provide, and strengthen that benefit package. The reason it's exciting, I believe, is because we're making some movement, and we're providing the employee the ability to see that we do value them. We want to retain them, and obviously, we want to be able to recruit as well. So.
Do you anticipate being able to go far enough with a classification study that you would publish job levels with, how would you put that? So the person in a position knows what might be next for them and what that might mean if they achieved it.
Yep, part of this classification study would also provide what we internally call job family opportunities. And so if there is an opportunity for, let's say, a maintenance worker to have 3 steps, then it gives them an opportunity to, within our organization, to continue to advance. So this study would take a look at those opportunities and provide us a pay plan for that as well.
Patrick, any questions?
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I guess maybe this would be more into what they would go into, but on the benchmarks against industry standards, is that against other towns? Do we know what kind of towns those would be? Is that against local competition that they would be up against? What is that kind of entailing?
They would actually compare to both industries within San Angelo that we are losing employees to, as well as other cities. Other cities that are like in population, employee size, tax base, those things.
Gotcha. And so including tax base would be the big one.
Yes.
I don't want to be compared to a city with twice our tax base, but.
Correct.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mary, any questions? We're good.
Mayor, I do have a comment, though.
All right, Daniel?
First of all, I want to express extreme gratitude to the City Council for bringing this forward. This is actually an item that has been discussed for a while, but it hasn't been brought forth. I know in the strategic planning workshop that we had, there was a lot of discussion. In the years, we've had a lot of challenges. We've had positions that have stayed vacant because we haven't had the ability to recruit and bring people into the city. Or we bring them in, we train them, and we lose them because other areas, other municipalities, other businesses in the area pay more. So it's a big challenge for us. We want to make sure that we put our best foot forward with the best employees that we can hire. And this is a great step forward to allow us to do that. So again, just great gratitude on behalf of the staff, myself, for again considering this, and we hope that it moves forward. Thank you all.
Veronica, kind of as a wrap up on this, as you look at this and you compare us, and you're going to talk with a group here that's going to implement the study, you're going to give them your key benchmarks that you want to look at, your focus points, your hot items, whatever that. One thing I would like to make sure is you include like career ladder steps of where these people are as far as placement. Sometimes I think we lose the fact that there's tiers of different pay levels and directors, assistant directors, assistants, we go there. Sometimes people dilute that, and I think what this does, and if what you told me in the strategic planning is right, this kind of clarifies a lot of that. So you'll be able to say, with your job in this area, in this zone, you actually hit at this level. And I want you to make sure we keep that in mind. And I think that's important because sometimes we lose how important someone is just because of their title. Whether that's above or below, I think the importance and the value that those people do.
That's correct. And that is probably the biggest chunk of the study, taking a look at the internal organization, the employees that are in the current positions that they're in, their years of service, their skill, their experience, any certifications that they may have in order to be able to place them within that pay plan.
With that, I would take a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve item A as presented, Mayor.
I have a first from Tommy Hebert, second from Karen Hesse Smith. Any public comment? With no public comment, we'll ask for a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, motion passes 5-0. Nice
Thank
job,
you, Council.
Veronica. With that, we'll move into item B, consider a resolution finding a public purpose and approving a request by Vista Del Sol Ventures LLC for the city to purchase materials for a 16-inch water main extension on Twin Mountain Drive for the Baker Ranch 7 and Homestead 2 subdivisions. Presentation made by Shane Kelton. Shane, you're on.
Get the microphone up here. Thank y'all for your last motion in action. Greatly appreciated. From somebody that lives a lot of that on a daily basis, I truly appreciate that. I think it's going to do wonders for us. So, good morning, council. As we was in the caption that was presented, David Darnell, excuse me, with Vista del Sol Ventures and his engineering firm, SKG, reached out to the city to request that the city purchase materials for a new 16-inch water main extension that's on Twin Mountain Drive in the Baker Ranch 7 and Homestead 2 subdivision. You can see here that Twin Mountain Drive, excuse me, cuts through both subdivisions. You have Baker Ranch 7 to the north and Homestead 2 to the south. Excuse me. With this request, the basis of their request is that, excuse me, we got rain clouds came through last night, and all of a sudden I'm all choked up. So, but as you can see, as Twin Mountain cuts through there, the basis of their request is basically that the 16-inch water main that cuts through on Twin Mountain Drive is not necessary to serve either one of those subdivisions. Basically, those subdivisions, you can see there, I know the map's a little small, but you can see Ruth Lane here, and then also Margaret Lane here. You can see that they have two 8-inch mains that are going to actually serve those homes, as those homes will back up to Twin Mountain Drive and not actually face Twin Mountain Drive, as Twin Mountain Drive is an arterial and we don't allow necessarily homes generally to front and/or access off of an arterial roadway. So with that, again, that is one of the bases for the request, and also that the 16-inch water main is a request by the city to basically for water transmission as we move and grow to the south and southwest of the city, as we're starting to move that direction. And we're going to take that main all the way over to Highway 67. It's going to tie back into our infrastructure that we have running down Highway 67. So at some point in time in the future, it's going to create a loop and actually act more like a transmission than actually a distribution system within a subdivision itself. So again, this is a little different than normal as we look at this moving forward. That being said, within our ordinances, our existing ordinances and with the subdivision ordinance and the part of the platting process, request for these mains, not only the mains that actually serve the homes themselves, but any transmission mains, those type things, are generally a requirement of the platting process and, within the ordinance, established within our ordinance itself. One of the exceptions that we have in that is that, of course, our standard main size for the city is an 8-inch main, and any main that is above an 8-inch main that the city requests that a subdivider or a developer put in, anything above that, the city will generally cover the difference in the cost of the pipe itself. And so we can look here as we look at this, as the developer requested. They requested that the city cover the cost for the pipe, the fittings, and the valves for approximately $130,000. Normally, based on our ordinance, we are required, because we asked for that additional size, 16-inch versus 8-inch, that we actually will cover that difference in cost. So the general cost to the city for our request for the 16-inch pipe would normally be $39,000. And these are approximate numbers. These aren't exact ones. You haven't actually bid them out. So again, these are approximate numbers. And so as we're looking at this, we would be traditionally looking at $39,000 for the city's contribution towards this. The difference between the request and what we would normally pay is $91,000. So if City Council decides that this is something that y'all want to move forward with and y'all want to approve, it would cost the city an additional $91,000 for this request. The kind of going back and the purpose of this, one, because this is a request by a private developer, the city council does have to find a reason, public purpose to actually consider this, because it is basically anything above what is stated in ordinance is actually a donation, I guess, or a...
Yeah, so, I mean, the Constitution says we can't grant public funds for a private purpose, and in the ordinance, since we're only allowed to pay for the oversizing, I think anything above that would require a finding by council that it does serve a public purpose, and I think specifically the continued development of that line, which I think Shane's covered, but you would need to make that finding.
Yep. This is a little different, and David is here as well, if y'all would like to ask him questions as well too about the subdivision and the work that he's doing here. But again, this is a little different scenario than normal, where we do have an arterial cutting through basically two subdivisions owned by the same company, and then these subdivisions can be fed water or supplied water through 8-inch mains that aren't, while they are tied onto the 16-inch, they're tied on in a pre-existing spot. And so basically the basis that they have brought to us for this is that this 16-inch main extension doesn't do anything for their development per se as it moves forward. It is primarily for the future growth from the city as it moves forward. So again, that was their basis and the reason for their ask to the city for this.
Shane, so that's the benefit at this point, is the city going in there doing the 16-inch line, the fittings, valves, everything else, is for the future development of the city. So there is a benefit to the city. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely, and we the city have to have this for that future growth, that expected future growth in that direction. That's why we requested this 16-inch, and this 16-inch is even larger than normally what we request, even in larger areas where we see a little heavier usage. So again, this will be a transmission main for us in the future as we develop onto the west. We do also have plans in this general location here, not specifically Baker, Homestead 2 or Baker Ranch 7, but kind of generally as we continue to move west, there will have to be at some point in time another elevated storage tank and or pumping station in this general area as well too. So we do need these bigger lines to move that volume of water into this area. So.
Thanks for the presentation. I'll start. Tommy, if you got any questions?
No questions. I am a huge supporter of this. I know Shane and Patrick and Daniel are tired of me beating on them about the extension of Twin Mountain from its current terminus all the way through to Highway 67. So for me, Councilmember Coffey and I share Twin Mountain Drive. Part of it's in District 1 and the remainder's in District 6. Larry and I worked on this diligently, so I am really glad to see this coming forward, and I'm sure Shane and Patrick will be somewhat appreciative because it may lessen me pestering them a whole lot when we're going to get going on some things out there. So I am in full support of this. Whenever you're ready for a motion, Mayor, I'll make the motion.
I'll work it down to Mary, and then as it's in Mary's district, I'll let her decide if she wants to move with the motion.
right.
Patrick, if you got anything?
Just real quick. On the, and this is more just general question, do we put in those ourselves, or does a third party come in to put these lines in?
No, the actual developer themselves will put this in. They will. They are just requesting that we supply the materials, but they will, as again part of a general subdivision when they're developing them, they are responsible for the placement of all of those materials as well. And so they just requested for the materials. They fully intend to actually do the work themselves to put in the all of the work that's related in placement of these pipes. So.
And on those materials, you had it look like the pipe difference on there, but not the fitting difference. So are we supplying all the fittings at our cost?
Yes.
Or are we supplying the difference in an 8-inch and 16-inch?
No, this request is for the 16-inch pipe and all fittings and valves. So normally, based on ordinance, we normally just will supply the upsize and pipe only, not the fittings or valves. So this request is going a little bit above and beyond just the standard upsize that we would normally cover.
Is there a reason for that, or that we are doing that on this one?
Again, that was part of the request, since this 16-inch line in the developer's mind is not necessary for their developments to be developed. Again, this is basically the city's water line and the city's wants, and so they requested that we actually cover all of those costs in this situation.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Karen, any comment? Mary, we'll bring it to you to wrap it up.
When do you expect to start on this?
That would be a question for the developer, not me. But my guess is they would, as they get ready to start breaking ground on this, that they will contact us. We will bid out those materials, and then, of course, we will bring that bid back to City Council for approval.
Do you anticipate any lack of service, or is there going to be any downtime with the water? You know, a lot of our retirement centers are in my district, and so I'm just curious as to the potential disruption.
Not with this project whatsoever. This is the end, basically the end of the line on the 12. It's currently stubbed out right here, and so the 16-inch is up to this point. It's currently stubbed out there. This will just extend it from that point over to here. And then again, they have already tied into the 16-inch there and there for the Ruth Lane and the Margaret Lane lines that are going to go in, the 8-inch lines that will actually feed the subdivision. So it's at that point, there should be no disturbance in any part of the system whatsoever.
Are we going to supply the labor? Is it the developer?
No, the developer.
Okay.
Developer is supplying all labor and all bedding material, all testing, all of the things associated with the installation of the pipe.
Do we, as the city, as the municipality owner of this, do we have, not supervise is not the right word, but do we have a way of just ensuring that it does meet the standards that if the city were to put it in?
Yes,
all
all subdivision work around the city, all development work around the city is, we do have an inspection team through our engineering department where we provide inspectors, and it all has to be inspected as it's being put in and placed in, that it meets our standards and that we accept it. We have to go out there and we watch them put it in, they have to test it, and we go through all of these procedures before we will actually accept it. So until we actually accept it, it still belongs, all of that in the ground belongs to the developer until we accept it from the city's perspective for our maintenance moving forward.
I wasn't insinuating that the developer, would do subpar work. Not at all. I just make sure that we covered all of our bases in case something, when we're not here, that we do have some oversight on that.
Yes,
so thank you, Shane.
Mm-hmm.
Shane, one last few comments on this. So did we suggest this midway through the project and make a change to it, or was this, he had ample time not to make any, or not to worry about any changes? I'm just worried if we made this sudden and it was a surprise.
No, we have been working with David and his partners for a while, looking at this not only from the water side of things, but also from the arterial side of things.
Right.
This is somewhat different even in the road construction side of it as well. Again, most developers aren't building arterials around town, and so we're looking, instead of a 50 or a 40 or a 36-foot wide street, we're looking at a 64-foot wide street in this instance. And so, again, as and having both sides of the street, and so you're not just having to worry about paying for your incremental half of a street, you're paying for the whole street. And so we have been working with them on this project for a while, trying to assist them in other ways as far as how they're going to develop this out and how they can possibly look at the costing this out over time versus trying to do it all at one fell
Right,
swoop.
and where I was going with
so-
that is, I hate for a developer or a builder to go through a project and get a surprise, a financial surprise. And as long as these things are laid out by far in advance, so there's not a surprise any, I think that cures a lot of problems and prevents a lot of questions later on. But with that, I think you've done a great job. This I think extends the life of the project and will move it forward very quickly. With that, I'll entertain a motion if anybody has one. I have a first by Karen and a second by Mary. Any public comment? With no public comment, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item passes 5-0. Now we'll move into item C, second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 12, Exhibit A, Article 5, Section 509, fences of the Code of Ordinances to provide an exception for public and private schools to allow fencing in the front yard setback. Presentation made by Aaron Vanoy. Aaron, you're on.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council, Mr. Valenzuela. This is just a follow-up to Councilmember Keeley's question about if homeschools are considered private schools, and in the state of Texas, they actually are. And so I'm very appreciative of you asking that question and getting staff to dig a little deeper. And so since homeschools are considered private schools, we don't think it's appropriate for a residential property to have the ability to have an 8-foot fence by right. Doesn't mean that they couldn't go and ask for a variance or some other process, but we did not think that it should be allowed by right. So we did put an exclusionary statement in there for homeschool residential properties that they would not be able to do it by right, but still public schools and private schools that have campuses would be able to have the fencing height by right. And so with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
This is the Patrick clause.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought up a good question. You didn't want anybody to abuse that, and
That's what we've got to look at, try to see the outside things.
Right.
And so I think what y'all put in there is perfect. So, I mean, there's always special use permits and things like that they can go through.
Right.
So this fixes that, allows the actual private schools to be able to have safe and secure campuses, but doesn't let anybody abuse it. So I think that was a great change. Good job.
Thank you.
Tommy, do you have a comment?
I do not.
Lights on. With that, Patrick, you want to make a motion? I have a first from Patrick. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
First from Patrick, second by Tommy Hebert. Do we have any public comment on this, Heather? No. With that, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Well, none. Item passes 5-0. We'd actually planned for a closed session. We're going to pull item A and wait till we get a full council before we go into closed session, bring that item back. With that, we're going to move straight into number 8, follow-up and administrative issues. Do we have any items or announcements or considerations for future agenda items? With none, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
First by Tommy. Second by Patrick. With that, we'll close this meeting at 9:20. Awesome.